rock buzz. Ozzy Osbourne just played his final show. Let that sink in. Not a tour wrap-up, not a break. It was the end. The final live performance from the godfather of heavy metal. And it happened right where it all began, Birmingham, England. And it wasn't just some intimate farewell. It was a full-scale, all-star heavy metal celebration. Back to the beginning. One last thunderous bow from Black Sabbath, from Ozzy, from the entire genre that exploded out of the grimy streets of Birmingham back in 1970 and changed music forever. So the last note has rung out, the stage has gone dark, Ozzy has taken his final bow. Unbelievable. And yet, somehow, it doesn't feel like goodbye, because legends like Ozzy Osbourne just don't vanish. They echo through every band he inspired, every riff that borrows from the Sabbath darkness, every fan who picked up a guitar after hearing Crazy Train on the radio. He's part of the DNA now, not just of metal, but of all music. Back to the Beginning concert wasn't just the show, it was a full-scale 12-hour metal pilgrimage. A send-off not only for Ozzy Osbourne, but for the entire genre he helped create. Held at Villa Park in Birmingham, right where it all started, this was not a nostalgia act. It was a living, breathing monument to the impact Sabbath and Ozzy had on the world. The day kicked off with Mastodon blasting through their own material before launching into a crushing cover of Supernaut, joined by members of Gojira, Slipknot, and Tool. Then came Rival Sons, Anthrax, Hailstorm, Lamb of God, all paying tribute not just with words, but with riffs. Then came the supergroups, one lineup stacked with Lizzie Hale, David Draymond, Jakey Lee, Nuno Betancourt, Scott Ian, and more. Running through a blistering set of Ozzy and Sabbath cuts, from Ultimate Sin to Changes. Even Jack Black showed up with a pre-recorded cover of Mr. Crowley. But the peak of the middle section, a three-headed drum monster, Chad Smith, Danny Carey, tearing through Symptom of the Universe like it was the final boss battle of metal. And right after that, another supergroup with Billy Corgan, Sammy Hagar, Steven Tyler, Tom Morello, and a full arsenal of legends, knocking out Walk This Way, Whole Lotta Love, even Breaking the Law. It was pretty insane. No fillers, no downtime, just wall-to-wall history. The heavyweights followed, Tool, Slayer, Pantera, Guns N' Roses, and finally Metallica, each band doing their own mini-sets, but mixing in Sabbath and Ozzy covers. That turned the entire night into one giant echo of legacy. Metallica's version of Hole in the Sky hit like a freight train, with Master of Puppets slotted in as a reminder of where the genre went and where it came from. Then the big moment happened. Ozzy returned. Seated in his throne, backed by Zakk Wylde on guitar, it was powerful. From I Don't Know to Crazy Train, every note felt like the final page of a book that changed our lives. And yeah, he sprayed the crowd one last time with his signature water hose, laughing like the Ozzy we've always known. And when he thought the night was over, it wasn't. The original Black Sabbath lineup, Ozzy, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward took the stage one final time. No substitutions, no hired guns, just the four men who started it all: War Pigs, NIB, Iron Man, and Paranoid. And it was everything fans had been waiting decades to see one last time. Across the world, over 2 million fans tuned in to watch. People cried, people screamed, and for a moment, the entire metal community came together, not just to witness history, but to feel it. Online, fan reactions poured in, a flood of emotion showing just how deeply Ozzy's career has touched millions. One fan summed it up simply: "There will never be another Ozzy. Age gets us all, but he sounds great." Another added passionately, "I don't care if he's sitting, crippled, or in a hospital bed, he still sounds amazing, and I'll never get sick of Ozzy." In the end, perhaps no comment captured the gratitude of the moment better than this simple tribute. "Honestly, I don't have words. Thank you, Ozzy. You're a legend." But saying goodbye to Ozzy doesn't feel real. How do you say farewell to someone who's still loved, this relevant, this larger than life? Maybe you don't. Maybe you just document it. So that's what we're doing here. We're looking back at the chaos, the rifts, the legacy, and the last time Ozzy Osbourne took the stage. When Black Sabbath appeared on the scene in 1970, the music world wasn't quite ready. People can debate all day about who invented heavy metal, whether it was the Beatles with Helter Skelter, Blue Cheer, or Arthur Brown, but the truth is, none of them captured the dark intensity, the pure evil, quite like Sabbath did. Think back to that first Sabbath album, when you dropped the needle and stared at that haunting cover, and when Tony Iommi's infamous flattened fifth guitar riff echoed out. It was chilling, and for many it was an awakening. Back then, without the internet, without constant access to endless music, Sabbath felt genuinely dangerous. That eerie mystique changed everything. Then came Paranoid. Everyone knows those songs. But Sabbath wasn't done reshaping metal. Albums like Master of Reality, of course Volume 4, the underrated masterpiece Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and even Sabotage, each took things further, pushing boundaries. It wasn't just heavy, it was revolutionary. Internal struggles took over, as they usually do. Drugs, egos, chaos. It all came crashing down, and Ozzy found himself out of the band he helped create. It seemed like the end. But it was really just a new beginning. Ozzy, of course, went solo and stumbled onto a guitarist named Randy Rhoads, pulling him from Quiet Riot. Suddenly, lightning struck again. Rhoads didn't just shred, he revolutionized guitar playing in heavy metal, blending classical technique with an electrifying energy that still inspires guitarists today, decades after his tragic passing.
This guy was something very, very special. He didn't drink a lot, he didn't take drugs, he smoked cigarettes, he was dedicated to his instrument. I mean, totally. He was a special, very special person. He was, I like to think that he was too good for this world. The guys up to take an aerial photograph of the bus and whatever, and he made an error with one of his judgments and clipped the side of the bus with the wing of the plane and exploded into this big house. And the autopsy said that Randy was killed instantaneously, so that, I mean, it's tragic that he went, but it's nice to know that he didn't suffer at all.
Ozzy didn't stop there. He teamed up with Jakey Lee, then Zakk Wylde, each guitarist becoming iconic in their own right. Ozzy didn't just ride the wave of heavy metal, he helped evolve it again and again. It's Quiet Riot's Come On Feel the Noise that's credited for bringing metal into the mainstream in 1983. But if you remember, Ozzy's Crazy Train had already broken through on radio a year earlier. And if you were alive back then, you know how special radio was. When you heard a riff like Crazy Train, it was unforgettable. It had the same kind of shock and excitement as hearing Van Halen's debut, or when you heard Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time, but much more impactful. It was a riff with urgency, something that made thousands of teenagers run out to buy their first guitar. And if you were a kid or teenager back then into Sabbath or Ozzy, you weren't considered cool. You were labeled the outcast, the troublemaker, the metalhead, even a threat. News reports and religious groups constantly accuse bands like Sabbath of satanic influence. It seems a little ridiculous now, but then it was serious.
One thing is for sure, Satan sells. No matter how you slice it. In May of 1982, teenagers of a congregation in Topeka, Kansas, destroyed thousands of dollars worth of records and tapes, which they felt contained the message of Satan.
Ozzy Osbourne was exonerated in a lawsuit brought by the family of 19-year-old John McCullum, who tragically died by suicide in 1984 after reportedly listening to Ozzy's song Suicide Solution.
My message is always for either giving someone a warning or a message of hope, you know. I mean, I write a lot of things about, I don't like wars, I don't like atom bombs, I don't like people suffering. I just don't understand why it's going on. I'm just confused by the whole thing, you know. It's just...
The lawsuit filed in 1986 against Ozzy and his record label claimed the song encouraged the act. However, a judge dismissed the case, affirming that the song's anti-suicide intent and its themes of alcohol abuse, notably referencing AC/DC's Bon Scott's death, were not legally culpable.
Being into heavy metal doesn't necessarily mean your kid's also into Satanism, and most of these fans are not. But there is an undeniable connection between obsession with the really hard stuff and the occult. Satan has nothing to do with this kind of a concert.
It's just an outlet to have a good time.
Parents think, oh, Satanism, their kids. It's killing their kids. It's not killing their kids. The parents are screwing up in the beginning. We're the next generation. And you like it! Whatever the connection, there is no doubt that teenage satanic activity in this country is increasing dramatically. Of course, the vast majority of your fans and the fans of heavy metal music are not Satanists. Every single kid whose case we know about, who committed a violent act in Satan's name was also into heavy metal music. What's your response to that, Ozzy?
Well, I don't really know. All I do is make music, you know. I don't sit down and purposely plan to freak everybody out. I mean, I always have played heavy metal music.
I see tattoos of your name on some of these, teenage devil worshippers' arms. Wherever I see devil graffiti and satanic graffiti, I see your name also. Do you feel a sense of responsibility, Oz?
The only responsibility I feel is the fact that I'm a true musician of what I play. I don't want to make anybody start doing all this devil worship crap, because that's not my intention. Although I have sang on a few songs about the devil, you know, that's about it. You know, I don't want anyone to harm themselves.
What about the whole thing about guilt? Do you feel responsible?
I don't feel guilty. I feel kind of persecuted by everybody because I'm not a bad guy. My intentions are not to harm anyone. In fact, it's directly the opposite. Like when people come to my concerts, I want them to have a good, fun evening out, you know. And it seems to me that a lot of people judge the book by the cover more so than they write things about me, or they don't even know what they're talking about, you know. If I close my eyes forever.
Throughout the 80s, Ozzy just kept growing. Hits kept coming, sold-out tours, and eventually he launched Ozzfest, reshaping metal's landscape yet again by giving a platform to bands who would otherwise not get any mainstream attention. And then somehow, Ozzy went from being a threat to society in the 1970s and 80s to a TV dad in the 2000s, beloved by millions. But the wildness never disappeared. This is, after all, the same guy who bit the heads off of bats and doves, and even urinated on the Alamo. The early 80s were a non-stop media circus, but Ozzy thrived on the chaos, becoming even larger than life. Which brings us here to this strange moment. Saying goodbye to artists usually happens when their relevance has faded, but Sabbath and Ozzy, they've never been bigger. Their influence is everywhere. New bands, young fans, worldwide acclaim, billions of streams.
So was Ozzy, were you a fan of Ozzy's growing up?
Oh, yeah. Well, I went to a Christian school.
Yeah.
And the first I heard of Ozzy was, they had these big seminars on every Friday. It was called Chapel. Which little side note, when everybody was praying, I used to steal money out of girls' purses. So that was my first.
Okay, God, you know what? You are Satan. You really are.
But they kicked into the whole seminar with playing the albums backwards and stuff, and Black Sabbath was one of the records that they had singled out. So it was immediately interested me, and because I wasn't supposed to listen to it, and then I started, loved Black Sabbath.
The music they created still matters deeply. So saying goodbye now feels surreal, even wrong. But it is happening, and that's why this moment is so powerful. Ozzy Osbourne's farewell isn't just an end, it's a historic closing chapter in a story that truly changed music forever. For decades, Ozzy was the lightning rod, the voice of rebellion. He didn't just survive the chaos, he owned it. He turned controversy into fuel, and through it all, he never stopped creating, never stopped evolving, never stopped being Ozzy. And that's why this farewell hits hard, because it's not the end of an artist past his prime. It's the end of a giant who's still casting shadows, still selling out stadiums, still loved by generations of fans from every corner of the planet. Ozzy said it himself, "It's my final encore." But that voice, that riff, and that echo will never stop.
It's a passion. There's nothing. There's no sex, drugs, or anything like rock and roll. I mean, the feeling, the emotion I get from, I would pay to see that, to get that emotion. Like, in other words, I want to feel the way I make them feel. I go to see them as much as they come to see me. And like if there was an Ozzy Osbourne's plot where I would have to pay to go, I would pay money to go there. I'm no good at anything else. I can't remember. I don't even know how to turn the television on, But she said, one of the other interviewers said to me, "If you could choose a place anywhere when you're going to die, where would it be?" And I said, "On stage."
Long live Sabbath and long live Ozzy. Please subscribe if you haven't already. That's going to do it for now. We thank you for watching Rock Buzz.